Welcome to Jake's Train of Thought. This is episode one, and today I'm going to talk about my first 50-mile attempt. And I want to answer the most common question that I get, which is why I did not run a marathon distance before making this attempt. Now, usually people ask, why didn't I run a marathon? And what people are referring to when they're thinking that is a road marathon. The 50-mile attempt that I had done was actually on a service road. You could say it was basically on a trail. And that is all the running that I had done pretty much leading up to this event was all hiking, running around in the mountains, trail running, trail racing, all that fun stuff. A road marathon is a completely different event than a run in the mountains. Any runner would be happy to tell you that the the marathon, on road is generally pretty intense. People get after it for these marathons, which I'm not saying they don't for trail races. They absolutely do, and there's a bunch of beasts in both of those worlds. It's just a totally different event, and that is the reason why I hadn't run a marathon. I'm doing air quotes, traditional marathon up to that point because that's not something that I had been interested in at that time, nor was it something that I felt trained up to do. I felt far more prepared with my running in the mountains to do this trail 50 miler rather than feeling prepared like I could do a road marathon. Now, on the other side of that question, as I see it, when people are asking about the marathon, really what they're asking about is the progression. Why go from only ever running half a marathon to running something like a 50 miler? And the honest answer is just curiosity, and I felt confident that I could do it. I had been putting in some serious work on the trail side of things for about a year before this event came up or before I was invited to do this event. And in that same year, I had 3 mountain races lined up. And I mean, these mountain races, for me, going balls to the wall were absolutely brutal. And so when you're pushing yourself to these max efforts, or at least I found for myself, it just gives you that confidence that, okay, there's probably some other things that I could do that I could push myself to a max effort and get pretty far with. And I definitely felt like I could bring that energy to a 50 miler. So this 50 miler was back in 2024 in October. And how it came about was my friend Ivan had invited me to join him as a pacer. Essentially, I would join him and his endurance running buddy, Spencer, at the 50-mile mark of what would be their 100-mile event. When Ivan first told me about this, my initial thought, I was nervous, scared, excited. I had been thinking a lot about 50 milers. I had been listening to podcasts, watching, ultra documentaries on YouTube, all this kind of stuff. And it just looked like such a fun and difficult, challenging thing to attempt. And I also had a good reference point, which was Ivan himself, because he had already been doing Ironman attempts. He had done a couple of 30 milers, he had done 50 miler, and now he wanted to get his first 100 miler under his belt. And so I told him, hell yeah, I want to do this. Sounded like fun. He asked me basically in the middle of my competition time in the summer for my mountain races. And essentially this 50 miler would fall or happen the month after my last race as we started to move into the fall. So I thought it was a great way to try to finish out the year. A little bit more about pacing and what that can entail is if you are running as a pacer for any kind of endurance event, you're essentially a part of the crew for the person that is competing and running. You and this person or your team, you get together and you decide when you're going to join in on the event, how far you're going to run, and it's subject to change, but you are essentially deciding what pace you want to help those people keep because you are coming in fresh to this race. Who knows what kind of mental and physical state the runners are going to be in when you join the race. And so it's part of your job to, at least in my mind, to bring a good energy, be ready to bring the pace that they want to hold so that you can help keep the momentum going during the event, whenever and at whatever point that is in the event. As we were preparing for this race, as it was coming up, we were maybe a month out. I started trying to get locked in mentally, just constantly thinking about this race. The year prior, I just barely started learning about salt tablets, gels like goos that have caffeine and a little bit of carbs in them. I had been thinking about running nutrition, such as using oatmeal, which is my personal favorite and go to. And that was essentially the basics going into this. I didn't really know that much about nutrition. It's still an ongoing learning process for sure, especially when it's evolved around running. Pretty much the only electrolyte I knew about at this point was just salt, and that was in the form of salt tablets. But yeah, regardless, I felt like I was ready to perform and ready to take this on. As we got closer and closer, both Ivan and I would meet up and talk about the game plan, what it was going to look like. And what was really cool about this event is that it was mandatory that you had a crew with you on the service road in a vehicle. So, not necessarily just running with you, but you had to have someone driving a vehicle along the service road while you ran. And that could look however you wanted it to look. You and your team would come up with a game plan. What we ended up doing was Ivan and Spencer decided to have the vehicle drive 4 miles. Then we would run to the car, stop, hang out for a bit, do whatever we needed to do, and then continue to essentially leapfrog with the vehicle for the 50 miles. Now, let's fast forward to race day. Ivan and Spencer started their race around, I want to say 4 or 5 in the morning, something like that. Pretty damn early. Now, mind you, this is out in Utah in October, so the weather can be pretty spotty, little bipolar sometimes, they might say. And essentially, Ivan's plan was okay, he's to start this race and he's going to send us updates whenever he can. And then me and the crew that were driving, which was Eric and Junior, to my boys. That way we could gauge what time we needed to leave Salt Lake City to drive out to the meetup point. Essentially, we knew it was going to take, anywhere between 10 to maybe even 12 hours, depending on how long it took Ivan and Spencer to get that first 50 miles done. It's just so unpredictable. You can come up with ideas of what your pace is going to be, but you just don't know what it's going to look like until you actually get out there and start running. So we started getting the updates from Ivan, early in the day, and he and Spencer are crushing the miles. So, of course, in our little group chat, we're going back and forth, and okay, Ivan's crushing it. He's crushing the miles, and we get all of our stuff loaded up. We start driving out. It's about 2 hours from Salt Lake City to the meetup point, and I am just so excited at this point. I'm excited. Of course, I'm a little bit nervous. Am I going to be able to do this? I'm going to give it my best, give it everything I got, make sure I leave nothing left on the table, which is what I love about all the racing events that I've done. Well, we drive out, and we're getting close to where we know Ivan is going to be. And I think I end up jumping out at what would be like a mile before we reach Ivan. That way I can start to warm up, start jogging a little bit, start moving. Then we link up with Ivan and Spencer, and we needed to swap over whatever stuff that they had from their first crew that did the first 50 with them, swap it over to our vehicle. We, checking with Ivan and Spencer, see how they're doing. And I remember when I got out of the vehicle to greet them, that these two looked like they had gone through it. Now, I know that seems obvious because they just did 50 freaking miles, but I was like, damn, like these guys are putting in work, getting after it. So I'm trying to keep my excitement to a manageable level, and I'm trying not to be a little bit too much right now, just based off of the vibes that they're giving me. And we get together, they confirm, okay, we're going to do the leapfrog 4 miles. That should take us, 40 to 60 minutes or somewhere around there to complete each checkpoint. And we take off. Initially, Ivan and Spencer are power walking. They're just trying to recover. I start asking questions. Tell me about how the first 50 has gone. What's up? Like, where are we at right now? Mentally, physically, how are you feeling? What, is there anything I can get you guys? And they tell us that when they started early that morning, it just started dumping snow, crazy wind, rain, all this crazy weather. This came in like a damn mini hurricane and effed them up right in the beginning. I can't even imagine being at that start line and having to handle this mentally, thinking about, man, is this going to persist for the next 50 miles, 10 hours, or however long it's going to take? But these two dudes, they powered through. The weather eventually cleared up, and that's when we linked up. By the time they hit the 50, of course, they're worn down. They've been putting in work, and they got whatever they needed to. I could start to see that shift in their energy. They started to get that second, third, fourth damn wind. Who knows what it was at that point. And yeah, the energies just started to pick up. It started to feel good. We're starting to move good. And we start to hit our checkpoints. We're hitting that 4 mile mark, meeting up with the boys, Eric and Junior, the fucking best, just keeping up that good energy, playing music and shit as we're as they're passing us and as we're running up to the truck, just trying to keep the energy high. It was great. It was so much fun. Of course, there was all these ebbs and flows, you know, each person going through their own little battle of maybe aches, pains. Oh, I need this. Maybe I need more salt, food, whatever, this or that. Trekking poles. Fortunately, at some point, Spencer had a bunch of, some pairs of trekking poles that we were able to use as it started to get later and later into the day. Ooh, one thing I didn't mention was that when we did finally meet up with them at their 50-mile point, it was about 4 p.m. And so essentially we planned on, it probably was going to take another 12-ish hours to get to that 100-mile mark. And we're just plugging away at the miles, plugging away, putting in that work. And I mean, I'm starting to have fun. I'm feeling good this entire time. We're, starting to get up into these higher miles, 16, 18. And then somewhere around mile 20 for me and what would have been about mile 70 for Ivan. I don't remember exactly what had happened. Some movement that he did, but he effed up his knee. His knee, I think, like seized up, locked up, just stopped functioning correctly. And we had to stop and assess. Now, as part of the crew, of course, there's this, double-edged sword, you could say. Do I encourage this person to keep pushing? Or is this person genuinely hurt and needs to stop, or they're going to cause irreparable damage. What's the situation? Let's assess. So Spencer and Ivan and I were stopped. We're assessing. Ivan, he gets up. He's working on the trekking poles, trying to see if he can move. His knee is just not functioning correctly. He's in a good amount of pain, and this man ain't no bitch. Like, if this man is in pain and thinking he needs to stop, then something is probably wrong. Now, add on top of that this man was going to do a damn Ironman the weekend after. So this boy is at 70-mile mark in this 100, and he decides, hey, I've gotta stop here. And I'm gonna do damage. I'm locked in for this Ironman. And of course we support him to do so. We encourage it. We're looking at a week later, he's got to be competing in an Ironman. So Ivan drops out around 70 miles, and this is around my 20-mile mark. So then it's just me and Spencer. We're plugging away. I want to say this is somewhere around, man, 10, 11 at night, somewhere around. And Spencer and I are just getting after it. Just me and Spencer out there. We're enjoying the damn stars. The sky was incredibly clear. We could see so many constellations. It was incredible. We got the jams going on my phone, just trying to keep the energy and the momentum going. And what was crazy about Spencer that I thought? So this is a pretty big guy. He's like 6'2", pretty fit. And I'm a small guy. I'm 5'7" without my barefoot shoes on. And Ivan's a pretty small guy. Like 5'5", and Spencer is power walking this thing. Like, this entire time, this man is power walking, and his power walk is my jog. My jogging pace is his power walk. So we're just staying at it. We're having good conversations. There's moments of silence, just each person's going through. I'm really starting to feel the strain in my muscles now, in my legs. And that is the main thing that I started to really feel, is just that muscular failure going into this 20-mile range. And then we finally hit the 26-mile point. And man, I felt so damn proud of myself. I thought it was so cool that I had finally done a 26-mile distance. I think it's already such a cool thing that humans can do, this physical and mental feat that we can do. And so I was feeling so proud. I was definitely, feeling a lot of strain and stress on my muscles and my joints. But I felt like I could continue. And then shortly after that, shit went downhill real quick. Me and Spencer get to our next checkpoint, meet up with the boys. It's mile 28 for me, which I guess would be about mile 78 for Spencer. And I'm telling myself, okay, I'm at mile 28. I'm more than halfway. I want to go ahead and switch my socks and shoes. I've got some extra clothes and stuff in the truck. It's starting to get a little bit chilly. It's, I don't know, 1 or 2 in the morning. I don't even know what time it was at that point, honestly. We're just lost in the sauce at that point. And I made probably a huge mistake at that checkpoint. And that was, for the first time in that full 28 miles, I sat down. I sat down on a chair, and that provided my hamstrings the opportunity that they needed to seize and cramp up completely. I started to feel that shit creep in. I started to feel them pull. Oh, that ache. And so immediately I told Ivan, like, help me, basically. My hamstrings are starting to cramp. Like, what should I do? He's telling me, all right, start down in as much salt as you can stomach. Start getting the bananas in. I start consuming basically as many electrolytes as you can. So I'm just munching on some electrolytes. Spencer's pretty much ready to go, and he starts moving. He's got to keep his momentum going. There ain't no stopping this man at this point. So I get up from my chair, and I am wobbling. I am hurting. But I'm like, all right, fuck it, I can push through. Maybe if I just keep moving my body, I can get the cramps to dissipate. I'll get some electrolytes in me, and I start moving. So the truck, the crew, they're aware. They're aware that this is happening. But I told them, hey, let's keep going. I'm gonna try to push through, and I start trying to jog to keep up with Spencer's power walk, and it is just apparent it is a no go. I am starting to fall so far behind Spencer. I'm falling behind him. I ain't keeping pace with him anymore. I tell him, hey, just go on without me. There's definitely no reason for me to be holding you back and like slowing down your pace. And I'm gonna see if I can just recover from this on my own. Nah, son, I wasn't recovering from shit. So I'm moving along. I got my trekking poles and I'm trying to push through. And I get to this hill that in this moment, to me, feels like it is going to be climbing Everest. I am just in that much physical pain and I am struggling that much mentally. I start making my way up this little tiny hill, man, and I am just dying. I'm having to stop every few feet, pull off to the side, just standing there. My legs are shaking and baking, baby. And I am just in so much pain. I am praying to all the gods out there that I can just make it to the next checkpoint. It is taking me so long to make any headway. And finally, I get to what would be mile 31.5. I'm like zero point 0.5 away from where the truck should be, or maybe a mile away. I don't remember. And I am just standing there. I'm trying to send telepathic messages to Ivan and Eric and Junior, like, please, for the love of God, come get me, guys. I am dying, man. There's no way. And I just wait there for a while. And finally, after some time, once they're far past that hour time that it would have taken us to get to the truck, they decide, okay, let's turn around. Let's go see where this man is at. And fortunately for me, they came back for me. I'm just there on the trail looking all sad. I'm in pain. I'm in anguish. And I tell them, all right, guys, I'm sorry, but I'm tapping out. I'm tapping out. I ain't got nothing left, y'all. And Spencer had already taken off. This man was just bulldozing. Like I said, there was nothing stopping this man. I felt really bummed that I wasn't able to continue past that point, but I just knew that there was nothing else I could do at that point. There's no way I was going to be able to recover and catch up to Spence. And I pulled out. So I got in the truck. I'm in there just recovering mentally, physically, emotionally, in every way that I can. And we spend the next few hours hitting checkpoints with Spencer. This man is just getting after it. And honestly, it was just one of the coolest running experiences that I had. To get to the point where we went to the finish line and the sun has already risen and we see Spencer power walking up over that horizon. Oh man, what an incredible thing to see as a human being. To see someone just give it his freaking all, dude. He planned perfectly. He trained for this shit. He Man, it was so admirable. I loved it. To see what him and Ivan did, it was such an incredible journey. It was such a cool thing to be a part of, and ever since then, it just sparked this fire in me, this desire to start looking at these longer distances. I really enjoyed the event, just everything about it, the camaraderie, being with the boys, having that type of energy where you're just hanging out for 12 hours. You got people running, and yeah, it was really cool, man. I really enjoyed it, and it definitely made me fall in love with these long distance events. And because I didn't get the 50 and I really wanted to get it, I really thought I could hit it. And I knew that it came down to basically an electrolyte imbalance, causing the cramps and the muscular failure in my hamstrings. I knew with some more training and with better understanding of nutrition and practicing with nutrition, in these hard, tough efforts, I felt I could get a 50-mile completed. And so 5 months later, I would have another opportunity to join Ivan and Spencer for their second 100 miler at Antelope Island, again here in Utah. And that is going to be for episode 2. I appreciate y'all checking out the pod. If there was anything that you wanted me to expand on and you had questions about that you were curious about, feel free to just drop it in the comments. You can message me and I will respond there. Or if it's something that I can take into consideration and add into the next episode, I would love to hear the feedback. This is a learning process for me. I'm just barely getting into this podcast thing, so I need to get my reps in, get my practice in, and then the only way I'm really going to be able to learn is to both give myself feedback and then get feedback from people that are listening. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good rest of your day.